Imagine you're a CTO at a Fortune 500 company, right?
Okay, I'm with you.
Yesterday, your biggest headache was figuring out which AI model was just, the absolute smartest, like
Wow.
who had the most impressive benchmarks, who could write the most elegant code.
Right, the classic intelligence race.
Exactly. But
Yeah.
today, your biggest headache is figuring out how on earth you're going to actually pay for it all.
Yeah, that is a huge pivot.
Because overnight, the entire frontier of AI just turned into this brutal, multi-tiered price war.
It really is a profound shift. I mean, if you woke up this morning, today is Thursday, July 9th, 2026, by the way, and you felt a sudden shift in the tech landscape, you are definitely not imagining things.
Definitely not.
Today is already being called, across the whole industry, the day the frontier officially opened.
And we're going to unpack that exact shift on today's deep dive. So our source material for this is the really phenomenal Tech Reader blog, AI Digest by Aaron Rose.
Such a great summary.
It managed to capture this just unprecedented avalanche of simultaneous tech releases that are dropping today.
Yeah, it's a lot to take in all at once.
It really is. So we're going to be looking at three massive model drops. We've got GPT 5.6, Grok 4.5, and Meta's Muse Spark 1.1.
To heavy hitters.
Right. And our mission for you listening is to basically cut through all the marketing hype. We want to show you why today isn't just about, AI getting smarter. It's actually a fundamental shift in how the entire industry is packaging, pricing, and just surviving the AI boom.
Yeah, and to really grasp the magnitude of what Aaron Rose has compiled here, we have to kind of change our baseline perspective.
How so?
Well, for years, the AI narrative has been entirely driven by intelligence leaderboards, right?
Yeah.
Like, who has the highest reasoning score on some standardized test?
Right, like the bar exam or whatever.
Exactly. But if you look at the raw data in today's digest, you have to look completely past those benchmark scores. You need to look directly at the price tags. The real story hiding in plain sight here is the commoditization of intelligence.
Okay, let's get into that, because I want to start with the heaviest hitter on the board today, which is OpenAI.
Let's do it.
So they just rolled out GPT 5.6 globally. This is across ChatGPT, Codex, the developer API, everything. But they totally abandoned their usual playbook here.
They really did. It's not just one big release anymore.
No, not at all. Instead of dropping one monolithic, super model for everybody, they've introduced this highly structured three-tier system. So we now have Sol, Terra, and Luna.
Which, if you think about it, is a very deliberate, almost defensive stratification of their offering.
Totally. Let's actually look at the numbers, because they tell a wild story here. Sol's is their new premium tier, and it's designed for what they call intense agentic reasoning.
Right.
And for you listening, agentic reasoning basically means the AI isn't just like answering a simple question. It's acting like an independent agent.
Yeah, plotting out a multi-step plan, recognizing its own mistakes, course-correcting along the way, that kind of stuff.
Exactly. But that massive capability comes at a really steep premium. It is $5 for input and $30 for output per million tokens.
And just to, ground that technical jargon for a second, a token is roughly a piece of a word.
Right.
So 1 million tokens is equivalent to about a dozen average-sized novels.
Okay. Wow.
Yeah, so feeding the AI 12 books of information costs $5, and having it generate 12 books of answers costs $30.
Which, that adds up incredibly fast if you have 1 million users hitting your app every day.
Oh, absolutely.
So then we step down to the middle tier, which is Terra. Now, this one is positioned at roughly GPT 5.5 level performance, but it's priced at exactly half the cost of Sol.
A very strategic price point.
Right. And finally, there's Luna. And Luna is built for sheer volume. It's very cheap, $1 input and $6 output per million tokens.
Yeah.
So to unpack this, it essentially operates exactly like a ride-sharing app.
Oh, I like that analogy.
Yeah, like Sol is the premium black car that you request for the absolute hardest, most mission-critical jobs. Terra is your standard, reliable sedan for the everyday commute. And Luna is basically the carpool option for when you just need to move data from point A to point B as cheaply as humanly possible.
That ride-sharing framework captures the dynamic perfectly, I think, because what's fascinating here is that OpenAI isn't just launching a product today. They are building a routing matrix.
A routing matrix. Okay, break that down.
Well, they're openly acknowledging that developers just can no longer afford to send every single prompt to the absolute smartest model. So Terra, that middle-tier sedan in your analogy,
Yeah.
Terra is actually the real enterprise story here. It's a Trojan horse.
Because companies finally have a financial excuse to route their daily easy, mundane workloads down a tier, right?
Exactly. Without feeling like they're abandoning the cutting edge, they're still technically running on the 5.6 generation architecture, just, the budget-friendly version.
But wait, I'm looking at OpenAI's rollout strategy in the source, and honestly, as a developer, there is a piece of this that feels like it would be a massive headache.
Oh, the auto-migration issue.
Yes, they explicitly stated they are not auto-migrating users from the old GPT 5.5 latest API endpoint over to 5.6.
No, they are forcing everyone to manually opt in.
Right, and why put that friction on the user?
Right.
I mean, an API endpoint is just the specific digital door a developer knocks on to get the AI to answer. Usually, tech companies want to eliminate all that friction.
Yeah, they want it to be seamless.
They want to invisibly upgrade you behind the scenes so you just wake up and your software is magically faster. So if this new routing matrix is the future, why force developers to manually pin their code to the new 5.6 IDs?
Well, the answer really comes down to the financial risk of background upgrades.
Financial risk.
Yeah. In the past, auto-upgrading made sense because newer was universally better and it generally cost the same. But today, upgrading a massive enterprise system to 5.6 without actively reconfiguring your software first, that could actually bankrupt your department overnight.
Oh, wow. Why?
Because of the new caching rules they introduced.
Ah, right. The cache breaks. The source notes a 30-minute minimum cache life alongside a 90% discount on cache reads.
Yes, and that is huge.
Let's make sure that concept is crystal clear. So for the listener, caching basically means the AI remembers a massive document you just uploaded, so it doesn't have to reread it from scratch every single time you ask a follow-up question.
Right, it keeps it in its short-term memory.
Yeah, so OpenAI is effectively saying, hey, if we don't have to reread your data, we'll give you a 90% discount on the query.
And that mechanism completely changes how software engineers have to design their applications now.
How so?
Well, if you just auto-migrated a Fortune 500 company's customer service bot to 5.6, but their software wasn't designed to take advantage of that specific 30-minute memory window.
Oh, they wouldn't get the discount.
Exactly. They would be paying the full, undiscounted price for every single customer interaction.
Ouch.
So OpenAI is forcing developers to manually opt in because they're basically saying you can't just be a coder anymore. You have to actively manage your infrastructure efficiency.
It's literally forcing developers to act like corporate accountants.
Pretty much, yeah.
Which actually transitions perfectly to the next bombshell in Aaron Rose's digest. Because if OpenAI's tiered approach relies on companies being willing to, meticulously manage their budgets and caching behaviors,
Right.
what if a company just doesn't want to play the routing game at all? What if their budget is already completely gone?
That is exactly the vulnerability that SpaceX AI is attacking today.
Yes, and they stepped into the arena with a sledgehammer.
They really did.
Grok 4.5 launched today at just $2 for input and $6 for output per million tokens.
Which is just aggressively cheap for a frontier model.
Insanely cheap. And it boasts a 500,000 token context window, meaning it can hold 500,000 pieces of text in its active working memory all at one time.
Massive context.
But the detail that actually made my jaw drop when I read it was the training data. So Grok 4.5 was trained on real developer session data from Cursor. Cursor is the AI coding platform that SpaceX just acquired last month for a staggering $60 billion.
And that acquisition is already paying massive dividends.
Clearly.
Because training on developer session data is a completely different paradigm than traditional training. Historically, AI models learn to code by reading finished, polished repositories on GitHub.
Right.
It's kind of like trying to learn how to paint by only staring at the Mona Lisa.
Yeah, you see the masterpiece.
Yeah.
But you have no idea how many rough sketches were thrown away to get there.
Exactly the point. By training on Cursor's session data, Grok 4.5 isn't just looking at the finished code, it's actually watching the entire creative and debugging process.
Oh, wow.
Yeah, it sees the backspaces, the copy-paste, the moments the developer pauses to go check some documentation,
Yeah, how they navigate across 10 different files just to fix a single bug.
Exactly. It's learning the actual behavior of software engineering, not just the final output.
Okay, that sounds incredibly powerful in theory, but I have to look at the actual performance metrics that are listed in the digest.
The benchmarks.
Yeah, because they are very mixed bag. Grok 4.5 beats its competitors on DeepSWE 1.0, which is a specific software engineering test.
Oh, right.
But then it trails significantly on SWE Bench Pro, and it's actually ranking 4th overall on the General Intelligence Index.
Which is lower than you'd expect for a major drop.
Exactly. So here's where it gets really interesting for me. is being quote-unquote close enough, actually good enough when we're talking about frontier AI? Like, are massive enterprise companies really going to settle for the fourth smartest model on the planet just to save a few bucks?
Well, put yourself in the shoes of the executives highlighted in the source material.
Okay.
The honeymoon phase of blank check AI spending is completely dead.
Yeah, very true.
Look at the corporate reality, Aaron Rose points out. Uber blew through its entire annual AI compute budget in just 4 months.
4 months?
Yeah, and Tesla is physically capping its employees at $200 of AI compute a week.
Wait, let's actually do the math on that for a second. At OpenAI's premium Sol prices, which is $30 per million output tokens, a Tesla engineer doing heavy code generation could burn through their $200 weekly allowance by, like, Tuesday afternoon.
Exactly, and then they are locked out for the rest of the week.
Wow.
So if you're a CTO staring down a completely depleted budget in the middle of July, Grok 4.5 isn't a compromise, it's a vital lifeline.
A lifeline, yeah.
SpaceX AI is adopting the exact playbook we saw pioneered by Chinese vendors over the last year, companies like Zipu and DeepSeek.
Which is to get the performance to a credible baseline and then completely change the conversation from capability over to cost.
Yes. What's fascinating here is that the strategy is brilliant in its simplicity.
How so?
You don't need to be number one on every single benchmark leaderboard anymore. You just need to be credible enough that when the CFO walks into the room and asks, hey, why are we spending $30 per million tokens with OpenAI when we could be spending $6 with SpaceX?
Right.
The engineering team doesn't have a justifiable counterargument. Grok is basically offering off-peak electricity rates in a market where everyone is absolutely terrified of their power bill.
Okay, so OpenAI is building this complex, nuanced pricing menu. SpaceX is slashing prices to the absolute bone.
Right.
And then we have Meta.
Meta.
If SpaceX is offering off-peak electricity, Meta is like a utility company showing up to your house with a massive, state-of-the-art generator, plugging it in, and then flat out refusing to tell you what the fuel costs.
Yeah, they've completely flipped the table today.
They really did. It's a huge departure from their historical playbook, right? Because they usually keep their best proprietary models baked exclusively into Instagram or WhatsApp.
Exactly. They keep their toys to themselves. But not today.
Not today. Today they released Muse Spark 1.1 alongside the public preview of the Meta Model API. And this isn't just your standard text generator.
No, not at all.
It has a 1 million token context window with what they are calling active context management.
Which is a really fascinating technical leap.
Explain that a bit.
Sure. So rather than just having a massive static memory bank that gets sluggish the more you put in it, active context management means the AI dynamically swaps information in and out of its own working memory based on what it thinks is most relevant to the current task.
Oh, that's smart. So it's acting as a true main agent.
Exactly. It can build a plan and then literally spin up and delegate tasks to parallel subagents.
And it also features a native computer interface, which is huge.
Huge.
So it doesn't just feed you lines of code to copy and paste. It can actually write scripts or take control of the environment and click buttons directly if that's the more efficient route.
Right. It takes action.
So what does this all mean? It sounds like you're essentially hiring an entire virtual IT department
Right.
that manages itself, like build a website, test it, deploy it all autonomously.
It is a staggering leap in workflow autonomy, no doubt about it.
But I kept scanning the tech digest looking for the catch. And I finally found this glaring omission. They dropped this massive agentic multi-tool,
Yeah.
but they didn't release the API pricing.
Nope. They held it back.
In a market where we just established that everyone is bleeding cash and obsessed with cost, how can Meta drop a 1 million token agentic stack and not tell anyone what it costs?
Well, withholding the price is actually a deeply strategic, if, frustrating maneuver.
Strategic how?
Let's look at the broader ecosystem today. July 9th is the exact day the developer API market became wildly overcrowded.
Okay, true.
We suddenly have 5 frontier-class APIs competing simultaneously for enterprise dollars. We've got Anthropic's Fable 5, OpenAI's GPT 5.6 Sol, Grok 4.5, Sonnet 5, and now MuseSpark 1.1.
That is an absolute traffic jam at the top of the market.
It is. And by withholding their price tag, Meta is executing a classic wait-and-see strategy.
I see.
Yeah, they want to watch how the market digests the new Fable, Sol, and Grok pricing boards over the next few weeks before they commit to a number.
Because if Meta prices Muse Spark too high, nobody adopts it because budgets are tight.
Right. And if they price it too low right out of the gate, they leave billions of dollars on the table and risk just cannibalizing their own data center infrastructure.
Wow.
So they're forcing enterprise developers to keep their routing decisions provisional, right? Just starving out the competition's momentum until Meta finally decides to show their hand.
That's honestly brilliant. They're just letting everyone else bleed themselves dry in a price war while they hold the wild card.
Exactly.
But all this software competition, all these millions of tokens flying around, it's actually creating a very tangible physical crisis, too.
Oh, absolutely. The hardware reality.
Yeah, the corporate infrastructure is quite literally groaning under the weight of these workloads right now. Let's look at the hardware quick hits from the source because they paint a really vivid picture.
Let's do it.
Microsoft is quietly replacing third-party AI models in everyday apps, we're talking Excel and Outlook, with their own internal models, which they're calling MAI, Microsoft AI.
Right.
They are doing this purely to optimize costs, and they're now handling tens of thousands of weekly prompts internally.
Which represents a massive shift in how compute is allocated.
It's like Microsoft suddenly realized they were using a supercomputer to do basic arithmetic.
Pretty much.
You don't need a frontier-class trillion-parameter brain that costs a fortune just to summarize a 3-line email in Outlook or to format a column in Excel.
No, you don't.
So these MAI models are small, highly specialized, and run incredibly cheap.
Yeah.
But does this mean the era of third-party model dominance is already over? The source notes Microsoft has built this internal frontier company with a $2.5 billion budget and 6,000 forward-deployed engineers.
That number alone points to a structural pivot in the entire industry.
What kind of pivot?
Well, for the last 3 years, the market was basically singularly obsessed with the training phase of AI.
Right, building the biggest models.
Exactly. Building the most massive supercomputers, stringing together tens of thousands of GPUs just to train the smartest models.
Yeah.
But Microsoft shifting to internal MAI models, and there's another headline in the digest too, DeepSeek, secretly building its own in-house inference chips.
Oh yeah, I saw that.
Both of those point to the same undeniable truth. The market has fully pivoted from training AI to running AI.
Running it. So inference.
Inference. The deployed scale of AI has gotten so massive. Just imagine every single Office 365 user in the world generating a summary simultaneously.
It's mind-boggling.
It is. And optimizing those daily running costs is now infinitely more important than who holds the crown on some benchmark leaderboard.
And this perfectly explains the market reaction we saw today in the source. NVIDIA's stock actually slipped, while SK Hynix, which is a major memory manufacturer, is prepping a massive $28 billion U.S. IPO just to keep up with memory demands.
Yep, the market always follows the hardware reality.
But help us understand the physical mechanism there. Why does the shift to inference hurt NVIDIA's stock when they are the undisputed kings of AI chips?
Well, it's because inference requires a fundamentally different hardware profile than training does.
Okay, how so?
Training in AI requires massive, power-hungry, incredibly expensive GPUs. You're doing complex parallel math across trillions of data points to build the model's brain.
Heavy lifting.
Exactly. But inference, the act of a user actually asking the AI a question and getting an answer, is much simpler, sequential math. Ah, I see.
You do not need a heavy-duty NVIDIA training rig to run inference. You need cheaper, highly specialized chips that can process quick, localized requests, combined with massive amounts of fast memory to hold those huge context windows we talked about.
So it's kind of like NVIDIA built the heavy machinery for the construction phase.
Right.
But now that the factories are actually built, companies don't need more excavators. They need cheap, efficient delivery trucks to get the product out the door.
That is an excellent way to frame it. The daily electric bill for those delivery trucks is the only metric that matters at a global scale.
Wow. Okay, so pulling all of this together for you listening, July 9th, 2026 is going to be remembered in tech history as the day AI essentially grew up and became a utility.
It really is.
It's no longer just this magical race for the smartest model. It is a complex, hyper-calculated routing matrix of cost, caching efficiency, and specialized hardware.
Whether we're looking at OpenAI's tiered pricing menu, SpaceX's cut-rate data play, Meta's giant agentic leap with the hidden prices, or Microsoft just brewing their own generic small-scale AI models.
Yeah.
The magic has officially been replaced by accounting.
It has, and viewing AI as a utility leads to an incredibly provocative conclusion, actually, one that's quietly hinted at in the deeper layers of today's digest.
Oh, right. Looking at the bottom of Aaron Rose's report, there are two easily missed footnotes that honestly terrify me if we follow our whole commoditization logic to its natural end. What did you make of those?
Well, there are two distinct regulatory signals there. First, OpenAI has proposed a 5% government equity stake in their company.
Just wild.
It is, and it's a move that's been met with total silence from the other major labs. Second, China's strict new AI companion laws go into full enforcement on July 15th, dictating exactly how these models can interact with citizens.
Which is just a few days from now. And as a reminder, we are absolutely not taking a stance on the politics or ethics of either of those moves. We're just reporting the facts from the source.
Wise course.
But if we connect those regulatory dots to everything we've discussed today about pricing, routing, and infrastructure.
The question becomes unavoidable.
Right.
If AI models are rapidly becoming interchangeable, hyper-efficient commodities governed by strict pricing tiers, just like water, electricity, or broadband internet,
Yeah.
how long will it be before governments around the world stop treating these labs like plucky tech startups and start regulating them exactly like public utilities?
A public utility. Wow. I mean, you don't ask your water company how smart the water is. You just want to know how much it costs per gallon and whether it's safe to drink.
Exactly.
That is a massive paradigm shift to think about. Well, thank you for joining us on this deep dive today. We strongly encourage you to take a hard look at your own AI workloads this week, check those API price tags, and figure out if you're paying for the premium black car when you really just need the carpool.
It's definitely time to check the budget.
Absolutely. Because if today proved anything, it's that the ground underneath the AI landscape hasn't just shifted. It has settled into a completely new, highly commercial foundation. Catch you next time.